Hi, and welcome. I just had that moment of thinking, oh no, I need to be in StreamYard, but I don't because I know that this has actually created the event. So, hello. If you are joining live, then let me know. Give me a quick wave. I think I've tried this before and done the everyone thing while I was on, and it doesn't actually work, but let's give it a go and see. So yeah, if you are joining me live, then it's great to see you. If you're not, then still say hello, play along, answer the questions, and let me know you're here because it's fabulous to have you. So these are back in place now for September. I didn't do so many over the summer because obviously the kids were off and it was all chaos, and I know lots of people's routines totally changed in August, but now we are back into September, back into some normal routines. Then I'm going to be with you each week, same time, same place. If you also, or if you perhaps instead like to hang out on LinkedIn, I am doing the lives as well across on LinkedIn. So have a look at my profile over there and you can find out when they are. They're basically an hour later. I tried very briefly to do simultaneous streaming, and you've got to use third-party software, and I just didn't like it. I didn't like it. So I'm going to continue doing them in here and do them on LinkedIn, but just do one because they're going to be really similar content. So for those of you that don't know me, or for those of you who've forgotten who the heck I am, my name is Sarah Wisniewski and I'm a visibility coach. I help emerging female coaches to get seen and get signed. And I do that in a way that helps you step into your power using your personality, because there is no one size fits all. That templated approach that worked for one person isn't necessarily going to work for you. So I really look for you to harness your strengths and the thing that you're amazing at to be able to share your message and connect with your clients. So today I want to share a little story with you. Once upon a time, I went out a little while ago with my mum and my two boys. So my boys are Elliot and Reuben. They are currently 9 and 11. They weren't when we did this. My biggest one's just started secondary school, and we're still getting into the whole routine of the new school. But on this particular occasion, we were going out for my birthday, which is in the summer, and we decided we would go to this ice cream cafe. It had rave reviews, apparently was amazing, the most just fabulous desserts ever. So we thought, right, let's go and kind of sample and make the most of this. So we walked in, and there was a big fridge area, you know, where you can choose like the fresh ice creams, and then to the right was all the cafe area where people were seated and they were eating in the cafe, which is what we wanted to do. But now we're a bit confused as to where we should put ourselves, because the people right next to the door were obviously waiting for service to take away an ice cream, and there wasn't anyone sort of obviously welcoming us to the cafe side, so we just kind of lingered a little bit uncomfortably. Once somebody did catch our eye and we sort of waved, they came over and we said, oh, we'd like a seat. Please say hello if you join me, by the way. We said, oh, we'd like to eat in. Is there a table available? Oh, yeah, fine. So they grabbed some menus and walked us down the cafe area, plonked us on our table, said, there you go. Thanks ever so much, and off they went. We opened these menus, which were honestly so big, my youngest couldn't kind of hold it. It was so big when he folded it out. It was huge, both in variety and the amount of different kind of elements that you could create in your, hey Jeanette, hi. It was just massive. And honestly, it was pretty overwhelming. So we sat and we started to try and kind of wade our way through, and my youngest was very clear before we got there what he wanted. He wanted something very specific. So I'm scouring the menu looking for something not that complicated, just a pretty simple sort of chocolate sundae. Couldn't find one anywhere. And then once we got waded in a little bit more, my next thought is, well, what is someone going to come? Is someone coming to the table to take our order? Or are we going to have to go up? And then I'm trying to watch what other people are doing to gauge what the process is. And by this time, my oldest is starting to get a bit, I can't see what I want, and everyone's starting to get a little bit stressed. And honestly, we were really close to walking out to go somewhere else or just get a takeaway, because it was just getting too much. Eventually someone came over to the table and took an order, and they took the menus away. But as we sat there, it felt like we'd just sort of been left and lost. As a customer experience, that was really quite stressful. It was very difficult, and honestly, it kind of tarnished the experience of the food. The food was great, but it sort of put me off. So here's how else it could have worked. As we walked in the door, they could have simply said, this is for the ice cream, this is for the cafe. Stand here, like a little sign, you know those ones, wait here to be seated? One of those would have been perfect, and we would have been able to stand there. And then as we were being walked to our table, if the server had said, have you been to us before? And we'd said, no, actually we haven't. They could have given me a 30-second rundown of the menu, which honestly, once I worked it out, looked like this. There are 3 main bases. You then pick your topping, like your core flavours of your ice cream. And then if you want something on top of that as well, like as an addition, then they're there. So the whole thing was kind of based on this modular 3 bases, waffle, something else. And then you added the ice cream and then you added the topping. It would have taken 30 seconds to tell me that. And then if she'd said, if you just want to place your order at the thing, we'll bring everything else over to you. So much different. I would have felt relaxed as we sat down. I could have guided everybody else through the process rather than just feeling a little bit overwhelmed. Now you might wonder why on earth I'm sharing this experience of an ice cream cafe with you, in particular in relation to how you market and how you connect with your perfect clients. It does have a direct correlation. When you connect with people who come into your world somehow, if you're not guiding them through any sort of process, if you're just leaving them to float around and find out for themselves, they're not to know what you want them to do. So let's say you've spent a long time curating something that you really would love your people to see or to share, but actually you're not telling them about it. You're not showing them how to get access to that thing. Maybe you regularly share the most phenomenal content, but it's not clear to them how they get access to that. And by not clear, I mean you're not telling people enough about it. So let me kind of map across what I see very much. Because when we talk about the client journey, we are talking about 3 very simple stages. You have a stage where you are growing an audience. Now the grow point is the going from not knowing you at all to knowing you. Hey Betty, lovely to have you here. Going from not knowing you at all to now knowing you and being part of your world. You are growing that audience, so you are adding people in. Now, bear in mind at this stage, most people are like I was when I first walked into that cafe. They're a bit like, what's she all about? Or, oh, okay, this is interesting. And yeah, that seems good to hang out. And what do I do now? So as you're growing your audience, you want to be clear as to where you want them to go. And there are loads of options where you want them to go. I often describe the client journey as being a bit like a lazy river. You know, where you get on those big donuts, inflatable donuts in a water park or something like Center Parcs. You get in and the current kind of takes you round. You have to be the current. If you just popped a load of people into that swimming pool and you didn't switch the current on, it's going to be chaos. Some people are going to be like pushing themselves along, other people are going to be pushing on the walls. It's going to be mad. And if you don't have a client journey in place, that's kind of the equivalent. And it feels like that ice cream cafe does for me. So here's how the easy fix can work. Think about it in 3 stages. You've got your grow. So at the point at which someone makes a connection with you, what do you want to happen? Now you get to choose. I'm not here to ever say, you've got to do this next. This is the next obvious. I'm not like one of those marketers that says, unless you're building this, or unless you're growing your Facebook group, or unless you choose. Like, you get to decide where that next point of contact is. Do you want them to come into a Facebook group? Do you want them to go onto a list? Do you want them to go to your podcast? Doesn't matter. Just decide and be clear and just pick one. So many times I have this conversation with people I connect with, and they say, oh, well, I've got this is a bit naming and shaming slightly. I've got a Linktree link on my profile. I'm like, yay, brilliant, great. Let's have a look. And Linktree is great, but it's created confusion. And what Linktree does is then present 1,000,001 options to your person. And do you know what the confused mind does? Nothing. It does nothing, because it's scary and it's overwhelming and it doesn't make any sense. So particularly in those early stages where they've just connected with you, decide where you want them to go and give them one option, one preferred route. So now they're kind of in your audience. So they then move into stage 2, which is them being nurtured. So we've got grow, we've got nurture. You've decided they're going to go from point of connection to now this place. So let's use Facebook group as an example because you're here and that's obvious. So in the Facebook group, that's where you're going to nurture your person. You're going to show them what amazingness you have. You're going to be the authority. You're going to draw that credibility. You're just going to shine at your best because this is you serving now. This is you making those connections, being amazing and just doing your thing. But you're not doing it from a place of, oh, and do you want to buy my thing? So we haven't got to that stage yet. This is them getting to know you. So there might be some other little offshoots that you've got. You might now have the availability to go onto an email list and get something else for free. You might have the ability to go and listen to my podcast. But you've chosen a route which is your primary route. You're not necessarily then saying to people, okay, now you've joined my Facebook group, that's great. Oh, how about you now come over here and you do this instead? It still has to flow. Remember, you're the current in the lazy river. It's got to flow. There's no point in taking them off a totally tangential, but it's okay to let them loop round a couple of times. So why don't you listen to my podcast? When I have got things that I've done and places that I've shared my message, I will share that in here because again, it sort of builds the connection that we've got. You could go and listen to a podcast interview just this week that's come out. So it's okay to share that type of pop out, but then pop back in, but keep nurturing at this stage. So for me in the ice cream experience, that would have probably been someone coming back to the table to say, you know, is everything okay? Have you got any questions? So we've initially made the contact, we've told them where to go, now we're going to nurture them. All right with me so far? Ask any questions as we go, because I think I'm seeing your comments, which is bonus. Your final stage is that you're ultimately going to want to serve these people in some way, most of them. If you've kind of selected the ideal client and we've done all that bit, which I'm not even talking about today, then you're going to want to actually deepen that relationship and serve them. And the way to serve them at the absolute best is for them to be in your world and to be working with you, of course. So decide how that works. Is it an evergreen offer that someone could just make an inquiry and your doors are open all the time? Do you have a launch model where you open the doors and you close the doors, open the doors, close the doors? If so, again, make it clear. If there's a combination of the two, well, you can buy this on an ongoing basis, but actually this opens every now and again. Why don't you tell them that? Let's be clear that the majority of the time when you're in a coaching therapy type role, we kind of get really excited about the serving bit and less so about the selling bit, don't we? We get to that point of, oh, I'm giving great value and it's really good and I'm enjoying this, but oh, I don't know, I'm getting to the selling bit and making the offer bit and I'd rather not. But allowing those people to understand that this is the next stage on the client journey, it's okay. That's what you're there for. You will not have a successful business. You will not have the impact that you desire unless you do make those offers and sell. So again, decide what the best route for you is. Is it drop on a call? Is it send me a message? Is it register on this thing and I'm going to send you something? Is it whatever, you know, the whole heap of different things that you can do. But make those offers and make them in a way that makes sense to your person. I'm going to give you an example of a client who has very recently done some work on her client journey, and it's phenomenal the results this has had. So this is a client who's worked with me for some time. She has just in the last 6 months slightly changed her business focus. She still does the original part of her business and she's added another offer to what she does. And she'd mapped out her client journey. She was very clear, this is how they're going to connect, this is where I'm going to nurture them, this is the next stage for them. But we realised after she'd made these offers a few times that it felt like too much of a jump. So just to kind of bring it to life a little bit, she was nurturing in her Facebook group, then she was offering calls. So jump on a call and we're going to have a conversation. So she was taking them from hanging out, getting good value, to let's have a chat and see how much more we could do together. It was too much too soon for her person. So we introduced some more baby steps into that process. And the idea that she came up with was like a mini call. So there was no selling, there was no expectation, like it was 20 minutes, there's no time to do any selling on it. She called it a breakthrough call, and it was to help the person get really clear on what they wanted to do next. And she said very clearly, that's my dog, I don't have a poltergeist, but I didn't shut the door properly, so she's come to say hello. So she introduced this breakthrough call, and within 2 weeks she had 9 booked. She made it clear what the call was about. She made it clear what it wasn't about. She made those offers regularly. 9 people booked that call. She's still working through those, so I can't tell you, or this has happened, this has happened, this has happened, but she's still going through the process of having those calls. But bearing in mind, this is somebody who has an audience of less than 100 people. Less than 100 in her group. She doesn't have an email list. She's just started this business. But by being very conscious and very strategic about the way she's putting in these stages and the steps in her client journey, she knows she's talking to the right person. Now, those 9 calls are going to allow her to deepen that relationship. She's going to be able to get to know those people. But the brilliant thing, two-way, is that she gets to learn about them too. She gets to understand about what's on their minds and what is the natural next step for her. And even having had 2 calls already, I think she's had another 3 today, she already knows she needs to introduce something else, which gives that person another touch point along her client journey before she's then ready to move them along to that next stage. So by allowing yourself to make those true connections, mapping it out and being clear as you can be from the overview perspective. Hey Jane, I think you've just joined. I think if that's recent, hello to you. You get to decide that, but then the more you test it and start to listen and make those connections, the more you can make those amendments to say, yeah, actually, it was a little bit too much too soon. I had another example of a client a long time ago who had a very simple page on her website, and it said, here's my telephone number, here's how you can call me if you want to work with me. Now, the likelihood of that person going from, I found a website, to calling, particularly now, I just don't feel like that culture is in us anymore. Like, you don't do that, do you? I even text people now before I plan on calling them to go, is it okay if I ring? So we talked again about your person and what stage are they at and where are they feeling they need the help and what's going to trigger them to actually want to take that help. It's just too much to suddenly go, ring me, just ring me and we'll make an appointment. They're not going to do that. So your people might, depending on what they're, what you're going to work with them on and where they are and all that, they might, but you have to be conscious of that. So let's just loop back. You need to decide on your client journey. It has to be a strategic, you create the current in your lazy river. So you decide on how those people first connect with you in the grow stage, and then you decide quickly where you want them to go. If you want them to stay on your profile, that's fine. If you want them to go into a group, if you want them to go onto your list, fine. Decide, make it a conscious decision. So you grow, then you nurture. You allow them some time to just be, to hang out, to do the things, to learn about you, to just kind of absorb one another's energy a little bit more. And then you move to the serve, which is where you get to serve ultimately at its best. And that is going to involve selling or making an offer. So allowing yourself to map that out, and it might be like on the back of a notepad right now. It doesn't need to be super formal. It doesn't need masses of automation. You can literally just go and change some profiles. Go and make it clear on your banner, I want this person to do this thing. This is stage 1, this is stage 2. So I tend to get a piece of paper like long ways, turn it round so you're kind of that way and you go, right, here's where they drop in, here's where they're going to go. And it becomes really clear if it's a big old gap. Now, let me tell you the final piece of the jigsaw, which led to my client understanding that her person needed something else. And this was all relating to my beautiful featured certificate in the back there, which is that I achieved in August to be a certified sacred money archetypes coach, which has allowed me to understand the buying behavior of different personalities to a whole new level. So now what I've added to the whole kind of marketing piece is much more of a deeper, concentrated understanding of who it is we're working with. And it was by using that profiling that my client started to see that actually she was putting too much pressure on somebody who, as a natural state of, they're called a nurturer, their archetype is a nurturer. They want to be nurtured themselves. They are in a place where they're maybe not totally confident in what they're doing. They know that they're an expert, but they're not quite ready to share it all with the world. So they're sort of feeling that nervousness. So knowing who she wanted to connect with using the archetypes allowed her to say, oh yeah, actually my original plan, my original client journey was talking to somebody much more assertive, much more confident, much more action taker, let's go, 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 of which there are those archetypes. But actually the content that she was putting out and the way she wanted to serve was all for a nurturer. So by mapping that from your perspective, what's good for you, mapping from a perspective of a potential client, you can start to see much more clearly what makes sense to them, what doesn't make sense to them. If you were marketing to a super action taker, someone who's really quick at making decisions, your client journey is going to be much smaller. It's going to be, hi, how you doing? Great. This is what I do. Do you need my thing? If so, fine, brilliant. Let's go. And here's how you buy from me. It would be as simple as that. It would be so linear. But from a nurturer's perspective, they're going to need lots more touch points along the way, and they're going to need that weaved in on a constant basis. My doorbell's just gone. Can you hear? My dog's going to go mad. Hopefully the kids will get it, but who knows, they might not. So by understanding what your natural archetype is and how you like to serve, if you're a super action taker, then actually do you need to kind of hold on to that a little bit and slow things down to their pace? Or if you're a nurturer, are you too slow for someone who's a super quick action taker? So by being able to understand what you are, you get to then understand how you want to serve. So I've got a little freebie for you that you can find out so much more about yourself by taking the Sacred Money Archetypes quiz. It takes about 10 minutes. There's some fun questions to think about how you behave in certain ways. And then at the end, you literally will get the result immediately. And you get a rundown of all the different archetypes, but you get to start to see not just about your own archetype, but you get to start to see, start to connect with how that archetype is going to behave when you're marketing to them. So it's very much flipping it round to say, okay, so I understand my person, like you've probably done the ideal client work and you understand the demographics and all of that about them, but do you understand their buying behaviour? And if you don't, you get to choose. You get to choose which archetype you're going to position yourself in front of and then map your client journey in that way. Has anyone got any questions? Let me give you a final rundown. So your client journey is you creating the current within your lazy river. You get to choose where people go, but you do need to turn the current on, because if you don't turn the current on in a lazy river, it's basically just a pull. Here's the dog back in again. She's decided there's nothing interesting to do. Really? Get either in or out. Go away. Go. One of them just poking his head around the door. So you get to decide, but you should decide. How are you going to grow your audience? How are you going to nurture your audience? And how are you going to serve that audience? And then to add like a whole big layer to tie it all together is to understand your Sacred Money archetype and then start to consciously make some decisions about which archetype you want to serve and map the journey out with that in mind. So is it fast? Is it slow? Is it needing some like immediate action? Is it needing some more stages in the process? You get to choose and map it out for your person. So I'm going to drop the link. Shall I try and be really technical? Let's see if I can actually drop the link while we're on. If you've got any final questions, then please let me know. You can find out how to... No, what am I saying? See, I can't do two things at once, can I? If you want to... Oh, this is weird because I've got like my keyboard and that's not it. So let's see if that'll work. Hang on. Oh, yeah, it did work. Okay, let's see. There we go. There's the links to the quiz. So literally it'll take you 10 minutes to do. You'll get the result immediately and you'll be able to see what you are. There is also on that page, there's the opportunity to hop onto a call with me and get a much more detailed feedback session, which it brings everything to life when you start to understand your own archetypes. It's fascinating. then to layer it into your marketing as well. It's like a cheat sheet. It's just like a cheat sheet as to how to really resonate with your person, how they want you to show up and how they want to be served in that process, all based on their investment decision, all based on how they're going to decide whether or not they're ready to work with you, because it's money and everything we do is money, isn't it? It's all influenced by money. So go and take a look at the quiz. Any questions, please let me know. Thank you so much for being here. And as I say, if you do hang out on LinkedIn, I'm doing the same lives each week on here and in LinkedIn. So if you want to hop on there and watch me again, see how it comes out second time round, it'd be great to see you over there. Or if you prefer to be over there, then let's say it's 5 o'clock, so an hour later, in half an hour, I'll be on LinkedIn doing the same thing. So yeah, have a great rest of your evening. Thank you so much for watching me live, and I will see you really, really soon. See you soon. Bye.